This is a Monday.com ad. The same Monday.com helping people worldwide getting work done faster and better. The same Monday.com designed for every team and every industry. The same Monday.com with built-in AI, scaling your work from day one. The same Monday.com that your team will actually love using. The same Monday.com with an easy and intuitive setup. Go to Monday.com and try it for free. Yes, the same Monday.com.
If a parent cannot tolerate a child's distress, which means that they either help them avoid or they step in very quickly, or they tend to try and make the world accommodate so that their child doesn't feel distress. That's parental experiential avoidance. It's the research term for it. That is a very strong predictor of kids developing anxiety, staying anxious. And we know, like even with OCD treatment, if a child isn't given the opportunity to move through and the parents step in over and over and over again, we don't get where we want to go.
Welcome to Season 8 of Flusterclux with Lynn Lyons, where we talk about managing worry, anxiety, and all the other emotions too.
I'm Lynn Lyons. I'm an anxiety expert, author, speaker, and mom. I've been a therapist for 35 years, and I'm still in the trenches with families, helping them navigate daily struggles and big problems. Parenting can be a flusterclux, but we tackle the serious stuff without being too serious.
I'm Robin. I'm Lynn's sister-in-law and co-host, and I'm here to ask your questions.
And I'm Ed, the producer of Flusterclux.
And my brother.
And my husband.
Anxiety is a family problem with a family solution.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, Robin.
Have you watched that Billy Joel documentary yet?
I started it, but I haven't finished it.
How far did you get in?
Not too far.
Yeah, I was just talking to another friend who also got a little in and then stopped.
I got a little bored.
Well, stay with it.
Okay.
Because the beginning I also just watched but then I came back to it.
Okay.
And completed the whole thing. Very, very powerful and moving.
Okay. All right.
What a dude. I mean, he's got a story and it changes your whole way that you think about him and his songs.
Okay. All right. I did watch the Taylor Swift documentary.
How was that?
It was great because I love anything behind the scenes, of course, has been well established. And I'm not really even a Taylor Swift fan, but it showed all the ways they put the tour together. And each episode had like a theme to it. And it was really good.
Okay. I'll give that a try next.
I'm a total sucker for that stuff.
I like the music documentaries.
Like they were just talking about how they put that thing together. It's unbelievable. I love any behind the scenes stuff. Like when they're showing the dance rehearsals and stuff like that. I love that stuff.
What I love about the music documentaries is I like understanding what the artist's contexts were for the songs that they wrote.
Mm-hmm.
What were the lyrics that inspired?
Yes.
All of that.
They had a lot of that.
Oh my gosh, you got to watch the Billy Joel.
Okay. I am never opposed to watching something that's behind the scenes. Never. Yeah. As you all know, the lowest point of that, which may be the highest point depending on how you're using the metric, was behind the scenes of the Dukes of Hazzard reunion movie. Okay. I watched that once.
Okay. I'm speechless. I have nothing to say to that.
I understand. I was pregnant. It was 2 a.m. It was really good.
Well, I love the topic you suggested today. It's so important. It's like at the core of everything you're trying to help families with.
Yes. Something I've been hearing about, and people have been talking about this, so I've always got my ears open. Like, what are people chatting about? Is this idea that the goal of parenting is to make sure that your child has no distress ever. The goal of parenting is to make sure that everything is going smoothly and that your children are happy and that you feel like a bad parent if your child is distressed. They're so afraid that their child is going to feel some discomfort. And I have noticed also that parents are using the term abandonment a lot. Even in my sessions when I say, so you put her to bed and then you come back and check in every 10 minutes, or you drop her off at school and you say a very efficient goodbye and you leave her with her teacher or her school counselor. And parents are saying, I'm just really afraid that she's going to feel abandoned. It's a big word. I think that what we have to talk about is the ability for parents to tolerate their children's distress and their own distress, because we know that that is a key component to children's developing autonomy and emotional resilience. And the research is super clear that when we look at both parents and therapists that have difficulty tolerating their children's distress, these kids don't get better. They actually either stay the same or they get a lot worse. One of the things we have to differentiate, that I want parents to differentiate, is there is a difference between allowing your child to feel disappointed, feel bored. Boredom is actually
huge.
A really important thing for kids to feel. Allowing your kids to feel sad, of course, to feel frustrated. Have you seen that? There's an Instagram reel going around. It's like, if you never cried at the dining room table when your dad was trying to teach you math, then you didn't have a childhood or something like that. Kids are going to feel uncomfortable. They're going to be disappointed and they're going to be bored. Even if we just take the boredom part, when you see the level of scheduling and energy and gymnastics that parents go through to make sure that on a weekend, all kids have events scheduled, the idea that you would have to go and hang out at your brother's hockey practice, oh my gosh, that would be terrible. So we've got to get one brother to hockey practice and the other child has to have an activity or a scheduled play date at the same time because we don't want our child to feel bored. All of that is really, really common. Really common.
It's referencing when we did a parenting styles episode a couple months ago, and you talked about concierge parenting.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of what you're talking about in that circumstance. If we back up, what you always talk about too is that parents have to tolerate seeing their kids in different types of distress, whether it's boredom,
rejection, disappointment, sadness, frustration, anger.
Yeah, all those things.
All those things that make you feel uncomfortable.
Right.
And if we look at the basic premise of good anxiety treatment, it's about removing accommodations so that kids have an opportunity to get through the discomfort, the fear, the worry, the anxiety that they are experiencing. Because the story that you tell in anticipation of getting a shot, going to school, talking to a teacher, that anticipation, that's what anxiety is. Remember, it's promoting something to an emergency that's not an emergency. And parents have a really hard time allowing their child to feel that distress. We got a question on the Facebook group recently that I haven't addressed, where a child was really nervous about going to an important medical appointment because of the gender of the healthcare provider. And that is an interesting thing, isn't it? That a child is going to have some control over who they see for this medical issue based on whether or not the provider is male or female. That's even a discussion. Right? So how do we help parents really see the value of stepping into things that make them feel uncomfortable and make their kids feel uncomfortable? That is a valuable skill.
It's also, we as parents have to tolerate witnessing all of these emotions from our kids, because if we had the inability to tolerate that with our own comfort, that's when we're not going to allow it. That's when we're going to accommodate. So it does kind of start with us.
Correct. So when we look at the ability for parents to tolerate distress, tons of research on that. If a parent cannot tolerate a child's distress, which means that they either help them avoid or they step in very quickly, or they tend to try and make the world accommodate so that their child doesn't feel distress. That's parental experiential avoidance is the research term for it. That is a very strong predictor of kids developing anxiety, staying anxious. And we know, like even with OCD treatment, if a child isn't given the opportunity to move through and the parents step in over and over and over again, we don't get where we want to go. We can look at it clinically in terms of what I do, but we can also just look at it in terms of run-of-the-mill childhood experiences. like your child gets cut from a team, or they don't get the part that they wanted to get in the play, or another child hurt their feelings, or a sibling teased them. All of these things that we want to validate it. We want to say, yeah, I get that that feels bad. I'm sorry that happened to you. But what the research also shows is that too much empathy, too much validation, just talking about your feelings over and over and over again, and then trying to get rid of the distress doesn't help.
Also, there's a role in how AI is going to be making this even harder to do.
That's right.
Let's take a break.
If you're like me, the beginning of the new year, you start thinking about your financial goals. What do you want to save for? Are you going to take that trip? Do you want to make sure that you're contributing completely to your retirement accounts? There are a lot of things to think about. Managing your money doesn't have to be a struggle this year. Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool designed to make your life easier. It brings your entire financial life, budgeting, accounts and investments, net worth, and future planning together in one dashboard on your laptop or phone. Start your new year on the right foot financially and get 50% off your Monarch subscription with the code FLUSTER. Monarch makes it easy for you to start fresh after the chaos of the holidays, right? We're all sort of looking for that reboot to just sort of stop, get our feet under us, and figure out what's important to spend our money on, how to save. They have automated weekly money recaps so that you can track your progress towards future financial goals. It's easier than ever. This new year, achieve your financial goals for good. Monarch is the all-in-one tool that makes proactive money management simple all year long. Use code FLUSTER at monarch.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FLUSTER. We know by now that sleep impacts our skin. When you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror and you're like, ugh. This is what Osea's Dream Collection helps address. It up-levels your nighttime skin routine. Osea's Dream Night Serum and Dream Night Cream are clinically tested formulas. They're powered by bioretinol, and they are designed to reduce the visible effects of stress on skin while you sleep. You give your skin a rest. You say goodnight to dryness, to dullness, to wrinkles, to that lack of firmness. Putting on Osea at night as part of your nightly routine promotes that sense of serenity for a restful night. It helps me settle in for the night. My skin feels nurtured. I feel taken care of. Osea has a new product in the Dream Collection. It's the Dream Bioretinol Body Serum. I can't wait to incorporate this into my personal body care routine in 2026. It reduces the visible effects of stress on the skin. It visibly firms and improves elasticity, smooths the look of lines and wrinkles on the body, and it's got less potential for irritation than traditional retinol. The goal of these products is to promote a restful night while visibly firming and improving your skin's elasticity. So give your skin a rest with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we've got a special discount just for our listeners. Get 10% off your first order site-wide with the code FLUSTER at OseaMalibu.com. Hey, it's the new year. Time for a wardrobe refresh? Quince has you covered with luxe essentials that feel effortless and look polished. They're perfect for layering, mixing, building a wardrobe that lasts. Their versatile styles make it easy to reach for them day after day, and that's what I've been doing. This past month, I had a ton of travel. I had a lot of presentations. I was packing, unpacking, needed to get dressed and undressed, looking good, looking polished, and I want items in my wardrobe that are easy, that I can put them on day after day. I can wash them, I can iron them, and I look polished, I look professional, and the quality is just evident. If you are looking for great pieces that are not over the top expensive, if you are looking to get the most wear out of your wardrobe, go with Quince. Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Don't wait. Go to quince.com/fluster for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/fluster to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/fluster. Okay, we're back. So the thing with AI, and both when we look at AI friendships, AI companionship, and AI therapy, is that it's designed to sort of anticipate what you want to hear. I saw this very interesting video that somebody made. So they took two phones and they had the AI friends talking to each other. And the way that it evolved, it was always like, absolutely. Oh, I totally agree. Or, yes, that is a great idea. And what we're finding with AI therapy, and one of the risks of AI therapy, is that it's not at all confrontational. These kids that grow up in this world of, my parents are going to make sure that I don't feel anything, or my parents have difficulty tolerating my distress, so they're going to work to alleviate that. Now we've got these AI models that are not going to say, and actually therapists, and I'll get to that in a minute, real life therapists have trouble with this too, but they're not going to say, I actually think you need to look at your part in this. Or I actually think that you using that language is probably not going to be helpful for you to continue to grow. You describing this as trauma might not be accurate, or this is a normal feeling for you to have in these circumstances, and the goal is for you to build your ability and your tolerance of these difficult feelings. AI therapy is not going to do that. Friends sometimes have a hard time doing that, we know in real life. AI friends are certainly not going to do that. And what some of the research shows with therapists is that therapists oftentimes pull back from doing exposure work or doing other things that actually support their client stepping into discomfort. And I've heard that a lot with therapists that I train, certainly schools, but this real fear that I am going to push somebody into distress. And so more and more and more young people are sort of surrounded by this language, surrounded by this approach that says you should feel comfortable all the time. You should be validated. Your lived experience is really important and perhaps more problematic. Your lived experience is accurate. So we want to make sure that we are not moving into this environment, which I see that we are moving into, of making sure that nobody confronts you, nobody calls you on your stuff, nobody says, well, maybe we need to address it this way, or this is the way that life goes sometimes, that you are going to be disappointed. Maybe you didn't get the part in the play because the other person was better. Or maybe you didn't make the team because you weren't outside practicing your foul shot as much as the kid down the street. That language is really disappearing in a way that's problematic for kids' resilience and their emotional growth.
You know, you and I talked about this a lot on episodes over the years, where we talk about the role of technology creating certainty with the increased ability of certainty among many things, and how that has created a culture of anxiety in parenting, because we can be certain from the very beginning. Parents now have Doppler radars at home to check on their child's heartbeat the whole last third trimester. We have cameras that watch them sleep. We have apps that track all of their pooping, all of their eating. And then we have access to every single homework assignment on the school portals.
Preschoolers are going to school with Apple Watches on so that parents can track their kids minute by minute during the day.
Right. So parents are having access to certainty in a way that is harming their ability to tolerate uncertainty in parenting and tolerating risk. And it's creating, additionally now, a culture where the kids don't realize they're being monitored for the certainty. So we have all of the negative impact of the technology here. Now we're going to add another layer that's even more damaging, that will affect both parents and kids who are using AI models for this, that are going to restrict their emotional experiences. And this is a crisis, actually, because as this technology becomes more pervasive and more people are limited in their development of the full emotional experience because of this. We have to pause and recognize that we are going to be human beings that cannot tolerate uncertainty and human beings that cannot tolerate discomfort. And what can we do on an individual level for ourselves and our families?
The other thing, too, that it's going to do is not only are we not going to be able to tolerate our own discomfort, our own emotional distress, but the expectation is that whoever we are engaging with is going to be consistently supportive and have the perfect response for us.
Right. Which also means that our ability to connect with others is going to go down the toilet.
Mm-hmm. Right. And when I listen to people who do couples therapy, when I listen to people talk about the interactions that you have with other people and the skills you need to develop, one of the huge skills that people need to develop in the context of relationships is your own emotional regulation. And so the more we use this language that you shouldn't be triggered, or I was triggered by that, or you did this thing to me, the more that we use the language of I shouldn't be triggered, I should only get responses that feel good to me, that I should only be made to feel appreciated and loved and amazing by my partner. Now, if the partner is an AI partner, they're going to be able to do that. But if you are in a relationship with another imperfect human being who also has their reactions and their responses, and you don't learn the ability to problem solve, to deal with conflict, to get your buttons pushed and to not overreact or to take a break when you need to take a break, I would imagine if you just think about being in a relationship with an AI bot or an AI therapist, is there ever going to be a time when somebody says something to you that pushes your buttons that you find very offensive or triggering, if you want to use that word? I don't really like that word. Are you ever going to have that experience so that you have to say, you know what, we need to stop this conversation right now. I need to go take a walk. I need to take a breath. I need to get myself back under control. You're not going to have that practice because the AI conversation is going to be designed to make sure that the things that are said and the responses that are given are going to be the opposite of confrontational or even difficult. That's where the crisis is going to happen. Because if we look at friendships, if you look at sibling relationships, if you look at a parent that's incapable of tolerating sibling bickering, not physical hitting and hurting, but bickering, those kids never get the opportunity to tolerate what happens when somebody says something that makes me mad. If a parent steps in, which is what happens a lot with friendships and with sibling relationships, and even now with employment, parents are stepping into boss-employee relationships more than ever. If a parent doesn't allow that to happen, and then you have an AI chatbot or an AI therapist that doesn't allow that to happen, what is the outcome of a generation of young people that don't know how to self-regulate when their buttons get pushed because their buttons haven't been pushed? That's the skill in relationships, isn't it? Is how to respond and react when there's conflict, when you don't like what's being said, when you have something to work through. And the more that we remove that, the more that we give kids the message that they shouldn't have to feel this way, the worse off that these relationship skills are going to be.
So siblings are still inherently the one place, regardless of technology, where kids get exposed to this.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing as long as the parents can recognize it's a good thing and not separate the siblings so much so because they haven't managed to learn how to get along. I've heard of friends who really keep their teenagers apart just to keep the peace for themselves.
Correct. And that's where that's the scheduling, right? So everybody has their own separate activities. One child goes and does this, another child goes and does that. And if I think about growing up with my siblings, including your husband, our free time was not curated by our parents. I mean, we did plenty of fun things, but we made up games. I mean, my brother and I, Ed and I, laugh because on Friday nights when Love Boat and Fantasy Island was on, we had this game called Bing It, which was just this like hit a ball back and forth with this weird little racket. We spent hours trying to break our Bing It record because you know what? My parents were off doing something that they wanted to do on a Friday night. That boredom, that conflict, that figuring things out, that practice is really, really important. And the more that kids don't have that opportunity, the worse they're going to be at these skills. Siblings, you're right. Siblings is where we figure out not only how to handle boredom and conflict, but also how to come up with things to keep ourselves occupied.
My kids are far enough apart in age where I didn't know if I was only going to have one child for quite a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew because I had other families with cousins and multiple siblings, I had to do stuff to help my daughter learn these things if there wasn't a sibling around. You know, I wanted to share with my mom's favorite line to me, which is the right line for you to steal, listeners, is if I would say, "Mom, I'm bored," she would just look at me and shrug her shoulders and say, "Well, that sounds like a personal problem."
That's a great,
But yes, she was spot on correct. That sounds like a personal problem. So boredom was tolerated absolutely by her. She's like, "I don't want to do anything with your boredom. You figure it out."
Right.
So that's a key one to do.
And Mary Montessori, who we talk about, who was that amazing Montessori teacher that my boys had when they were little, she used to say, if you're bored, that becomes an invitation to find something to do. Like she saw boredom as an invitation to creativity.
Well, of course it is. But you tell that to a 4-year-old and they're going to roll their eyes back at you.
I'm bored. And she'd say, well, that means you need to find something to do, don't you?
Right.
Right. But that's what she was saying. Like, here's an opportunity for creativity. When I'm speaking, I ask the audiences all the time. I say, how many of you made up games when you were a kid? Separate from adult supervision. And, almost everybody raises their hands. And I say, how many of you remember those games? Remember the names of those games? Remember how those games worked? We all remember that. Those were formative experiences. So it goes back to what we've talked about many times is this idea of autonomy and independence. But even more so, it's letting kids struggle, letting them feel uncomfortable, letting them get tagged out. But it's letting kids get out when they're playing dodgeball. It's letting them be it when they're playing tag. It's allowing them to experience the frustration of a game not going the way they want it to go. And I just see very consistently parents and adults stepping in to make sure that kids don't feel those things. It is really important that they feel them.
We all have to do a check on where we're at with that. And it starts with boredom, I think, when the kids are younger. For parents who are listening who they realize, okay, my kids have not had a lot of practice with this. I'm part of the problem because I don't like it either. What should the goals be this year? If people want to really turn it around, what can they start doing on a daily, moment by moment? What is like a way that they could start building these skills and changing these habits?
So one is, and we talked about this in a recent episode, is the ability to validate your kids' feelings, to say, I get it, you're disappointed, or I get it, I understand that you're bored, but then not feel like you have to step in to solve the problem. So we want to do a little validation, and then we want to hand it back to them. So say your kid says like, I'm so frustrated that blah, 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 blah. You say, yeah, I totally get you're frustrated. That sounds like a personal problem. Now you got to figure out how to deal with that. So you want to use language that says the feeling is a signal for you to make some sort of adjustment. And a lot of people will talk about emotions as signals, because I live in the anxiety world, that it can be either signal or noise. But if you feel this way, if this is what you're experiencing, sounds like you need to figure out what to do. So that active language, how do you solve this problem? And say, for example, we have an older child and maybe you've felt like you've stepped in and you've tried to create everything and they've been really scheduled and you don't want them to be distressed, et cetera, et cetera. And maybe now they're going to try and get their first part-time job. Maybe they're old enough to babysit and they are frustrated because they're not getting any babysitting jobs. Well, you might step in and say, okay, well, let me call my friends or let me figure out, or I'm going to go behind the scenes and see if I can help them get babysitting jobs. Or you can say, all right, well, I'm glad you're frustrated because that means you want babysitting jobs and it means you need to do something to get them. So why don't you come up with some ideas? The more that you acknowledge the feeling as a signal that requires action, that's very helpful. The other thing too is that we want to pay attention, as always, to the solution to boredom as more technology. So you're bored. Well, because you're bored, I'm going to let you go on the iPad more. There's nothing I can do right now. You're bored. I have to get this project done for work. Okay, go ahead. And I'm going to let go of my restrictions on screen time. You want to start talking to them about the importance of being active and stepping into things and looking for ways to deal with boredom. I mean, I love your mom's line, like that's a personal problem. You're bored? Not such a bad thing. I wonder what creative solutions you can come up with. So you start using the language of, yeah, I get that you feel like that. So now you've got to figure out what to do next versus, oh my gosh, I can't believe you feel that way. Let me step in and figure out what to do about that. So once a parent steps back from being the solution to the problem, that's a really good first step to take.
Let's take a break and we'll be right back.
I love the new masterclass by Anna Lemke. She is an amazing author, a speaker. She's a professor at Stanford, and she's talking about dopamine, everybody. She gives a class on how dopamine controls our impulses and what you can do to manage the chemical dopamine in your brain in a way that actually is helpful. We live in Dopamine Nation, which was actually the name of her amazing book. And this masterclass is so informative, so engaging. You're going to love it. So interesting. And if you like to cook, oh my gosh, Alice Waters, that class is amazing. There are Mexican cooking classes, intuitive cooking classes. There is so much to choose from. It's hard to do anything else. So with Masterclass, remember, you can learn from the best to become your best. Plans start at $10 a month, billed annually. You get unlimited access to over 200 classes taught by the world's best business leaders, writers, chefs, and more. There's a great class on parenting that is going to give you concrete things that you can do as a parent. There are thousands of bite-sized lessons across 13 categories. It is time for you to learn. Right now, our listeners get an additional 15% off of any annual membership at masterclass.com/fluster. That's 15% off at masterclass.com/fluster, masterclass.com/fluster. Hey, so I was recently going through a whole bunch of photo albums and looking at my phone. I was gathering pictures together for a family event. You know, I thought I should really just put these all together in a book. It's a really great idea to take a family event, to even take the last year and put it together in a book, a yearbook that highlights a favorite memory, a moment. The goal is to create a high quality photo book. It usually takes so much time, but the way that Journey Print works is that it has got a smart algorithm that generates the layouts. They're sorted by date. There is quick and easy editing. Have you ever tried to use some of those other companies? I mean, it's a pain in the neck. This is easy. There is premium satin or glossy paper. It's got a very high quality feel, sustainable production. They've got custom themes for personalization. They even include built-in maps and dates so that your Journey Print book, your year in review, tells stories. It's not just photos. It really is a wonderful expression of what's important to you and your family. So go to journeyapp.com/podcast/Flusterclux and use the code Flusterclux to get 30% off your next purchase. That's Journey, spelled JOURNI, app.com/podcast/Flusterclux and use code Flusterclux at checkout. You don't have to convince me that great sheets make a difference. I love high quality sheets. I remember when I was younger, I went to a friend's house. He had terrible sheets. It truly makes a difference in how you sleep, how it feels to get into bed. Boll and Branch sheets make a difference. It's just a fact. When I first got my Boll & Branch sheets, I knew what I was in for. I believed the hype because they're made with such quality, and man, they live up to it. They are made from the finest 100% organic cotton with a difference in craftsmanship that you can immediately feel. They are buttery soft, and they're made to get softer with every wash. If you want to feel quality immediately, get some Boll & Branch sheets. It will make a difference in the way you sleep. Trust me, they are so much better than average, old, low-quality bedding. Discover a softness beyond your wildest dreams with Boll & Branch. Get 15% off your first set of sheets plus free shipping at bollandbranch.com/Flusterclux with code Flusterclux. That's Boll & Branch, BOLLANDBRANCH.com/Flusterclux. Code Flusterclux to unlock 15% off. Exclusions apply. Okay, so now back to the show.
You know, Lynn, my kids are they're definitely phone users. They're 14 and 20.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what other families do here, but we still routinely take their phones away. We took their phones away for 30 days last summer.
I remember.
And it was fine. It actually was fine. And I didn't think it would be. And I was ready to tolerate their response, but it was fine. We still remove phones a lot. And it's amazing when the phones are gone, what activities are chosen instead.
It's true.
And it's always the activities you actually want your kids to do.
Right.
Well, I mean, most of the time.
You know, whether you're taking away technology or you're not giving your child what they want, or you won't take them to the place that they want to go right now. So there's this immediacy of you have to meet this need for me right now. And if you are changing this, if you're trying to figure out how to do this differently, you're going to get a big reaction back. And part of sort of the shift that has to happen is that you have to tolerate their distress.
Lynn, let's think about specific scenarios that come up a lot with a couple of different ages, so that parents are listening to this and they're wondering, is this applying to me?
Mm-hmm.
A situation where your middle school girl comes home from like a hangout,
Mm-hmm.
and the girls talked about a certain thing, a certain makeup, a certain skincare, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that they all had and that she didn't have.
Yeah. So she's feeling left out.
Yep.
And she also wants you to take her to Sephora right now to get it.
Right. Because it's an emergency.
It's an emergency.
My feelings of feeling left out are an emergency.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, of course, a parent will immediately feel like, oh my gosh, I'm a bad parent. All the girls had this. My daughter is feeling left out. She's feeling rejected. This is the worst thing that my child could feel, right? I want her to be included. So all of your distress comes up. For one, you say, gosh, so tell me more about that, right? So an invitation to discuss it. Before you jump into a solution that I have to fix it, you can just say, oh, tell me about it. So teach your child that it's okay to talk about how she was feeling and it was frustrating. And then you might say, what would you like to do about that? And then your child might say, well, nothing. I mean, honestly, I think it's kind of dumb to spend all that money on this kind of stuff or whatever. Or your child might say, well, I really would like to go and get that skincare thing. Say, okay, so let's figure out how that might work. It doesn't work for me right now because I have to go blah, 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 blah. But you got some money for Christmas. So immediately you're validating the feeling. You're letting them talk it through because they might not need an immediate solution. That's the thing. Your lack of being able to tolerate their parental distress means that you feel like you have to jump into action. So let it ride a little bit. Talk about it. See what happens, and then ask her what she might find as a solution to the problem. That's very different than you going like, oh my God, I've got to get in the car right away and go get her this skincare thing because she feels rejected and she feels abandoned by her friends and she's not going to fit in and blah, blah, blah. That's the reaction that we see that's problematic. So just let it ride a little bit. That's the thing with this, is that feelings are temporary. Situations come and go. If you've got a middle schooler, she's riding the emotional roller coaster. And as I've said before, don't get in the roller coaster with it. Let it go by and wave. Oh, yeah, hi, see you. So that would be how I would address that.
We were talking about siblings still being those people who are often the teachers of this is what it feels like to have my feelings of distress come up. When family size was much larger, the parents just couldn't get into these types of moments. These larger families have very different emotional dynamics than a family of 1 or 2 or 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And as we move to these smaller families, there's an opportunity for the mom to go, okay, we're going to go to Sephora right now. It opens in 10 minutes. We're on it.
Right. Many families have 2 kids now. You've got a 1-to-1 ratio of adult to kid. When you had 8 kids and maybe one parent wasn't really even involved, we won't stereotype, but there was a 1-to-8 ratio. There wasn't this immediate satisfaction of every need. You had to wait. You had to figure it out. You had to get yourself to where you needed to be. And I think that if parents can recognize the importance of validating, but not feeling like they need to step in and solve every problem, I think that's a really, really good place to start. And it's also okay to say, you know what? I'm not going to spend $42 on a moisturizer.
What would Ma Ingalls say in this situation?
She would say, what's moisturizer? She would say, oh, we'll get some lard and slap it on your face.
She'd say, you know where the lard is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you need to go ask Mr. Olson if he has some lard on hand. So you've got middle schooler. Let's take a scenario where you've got a 6-year-old that wants to play a game right now, that wants to go somewhere right now, that wants to be on the iPad right now. It is really okay for a parent to say, I get that you want that right now. And part of being in this family is that we're not going to do everything that you need right now. I mean, it's okay for you to say that. I met this poet a long time ago. Her name was Colette Inez, and she talked about occasions of waiting, which I always remember that phrase. And she talked about having a little notebook that she took out and how she would look around and she would observe things and she would write things down. But she said, instead of having this feeling of impatience, which I think is such a part of our culture right now, like now, she talked about occasions of waiting. And it was observing, it was lifting your eyes up, it was seeing what was around you. I think that's a great phrase to introduce to your kids when they're younger. We're in the line at the grocery store. We're in this place. This is an occasion of waiting. And it allows you to begin to just take in your environment and not get in that internal focus of, I need to be entertained all the time right now. And then when you've got teenagers, again, you're looking for opportunities for them to feel autonomous. So they want to do something. You say, all right, well, figure out a plan and get back to me and I'll see if it works. That's what we do. Yeah, it is a shift in you saying, my child is feeling uncomfortable, which means that I need to do something, to my child is feeling uncomfortable, I need to validate and then promote problem solving. Big difference.
So as we are thinking of all the things that we want to do better this year, I like the idea of really thinking about tolerating the distress of our kids and also knowing in those moments that we have to be self-aware about managing our own distress.
One of the things I say in my office to the families I work with is that instead of dreading, like, oh my gosh, I'm so anxious that she's going to be anxious, or, oh my gosh, she's got her physical coming up and she's going to need to get a shot and I'm just totally worried about that. Colette Inez talked about occasions of waiting. I think we can also talk about occasions of practice. So instead of dreading that your kid is going to have big emotions or that they're going to be bored or that they're going to be frustrated, if you can make that little shift of saying, I'm going to look forward to the opportunity to practice this with my child, which means that when your child is going through something difficult or having big emotions or feeling impatient or bored or whatever, instead of trying to prevent that from happening or dreading that from happening, kind of anticipate that in an opportunistic way. Like, I'm really looking for opportunities for my child to feel bored so that then they can practice their problem solving. That shifts the dynamic. That shifts your responsibility for, I have to stay ahead of this thing. When we see parents that are really having difficulty tolerating distress, They try and stay ahead of it. I don't want my child to feel this way, so I have to make sure that I'm paying attention all the time to anything that might make them unhappy. Instead, I would like you to shift that dynamic and be like, oh my gosh, I hope this weekend that my child is bored, because that's going to be really good practice for them.
What about the parents who know that these AI tools are in their household? Like, so my kids don't do this, but are teens using AI friends and AI therapists?
I honestly don't know how much it's worked its way down. I definitely think that teens are engaging with AI companionship. I know that young adults are engaging with it. I mean, this is something that when we talk about the crisis with young men, that they're finding these companions. We were talking about this morning. Remember that movie that came out a long time ago? Was it called She or Her? It was with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, I think it was called Her.
So that was sort of predicting. And so I know that now that there are young men that are engaging in relationships with these chatbots. So I know that that's a thing. And I don't know how young that's going, but definitely young men are engaging in that. The therapy thing is becoming more and more common for sure. There are more and more apps where you can get help with your anxiety by having a conversation with an AI therapist. And in fact, I was just at a huge conference at the end of December. There were several presentations on how to understand and incorporate the use of AI into your practice. There were workshops they were giving. I didn't go to any of them. And I think that what they were saying is how to use these tools to help with your billing and your documentation. But I think they were also talking about the interesting development of using AI as a response. So you've got somebody with OCD, we're going to have them use AI to get OCD treatment. I think that's coming. I think it's already here. And I think that's something we really want to pay attention to. So don't sign your kid up for AI therapy. That would be the thing to not do.
Yeah, point taken.
Thanks for listening. And if you found this podcast helpful, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find this information.
And if you'd like to dig deeper on any of these topics, we have specialized playlists on our Spotify profile, and the link is in the show notes. Topics like teens, depression, and OCD. Bye, Lynn.
Bye, Robin.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.